Hello, everybody, and welcome back for week number 6 of the College Football Betting Breakdown Show, courtesy of Scores and Odds. I'm your host, Sean PSU Fans 2 Newsham. Joining me, per usual, Alex Fearmyturtle Hardin. Alex, how's it going today?
Going pretty good. It's crazy that we're almost to the halfway point of the college football regular season. It definitely goes by fast. So, got a few more weeks though to try to turn those losses into more wins. Yeah, a little bit of a struggle last week. We both went 1-2, but yeah, we'll get back on the horse this week.
Yeah, we did. If you guys are watching, we appreciate if you like and subscribe on YouTube. It really helps us, so we appreciate that. Quick review of week 5. As Alex just alluded to, we went 1-2, which did happen because we did share a bet last week, and it was a loser. So I talked up Wake +7 against Florida State, and I actually mentioned I would rather take the money line in that game because I thought they were the better team, and they were, and they won. So if you guys were listening to the show and actually took the takes of what we were talking about, I definitely liked the money line. You could have found a good spot there. On the complete flip side of that, I thought Oklahoma was the better team and liked them quite a bit at TCU, and they got absolutely smashed by TCU. So was wrong there. And then Arkansas +17 was looking good. It was 28-25 near the end of the game, and then Arkansas absolutely fell apart, which Alex and I shared that bet. How about the other two bets you had last week, Alex? What transpired in those?
Yeah, I had NC State getting 7 at Clemson. I still feel pretty good about that one. It was a tight game. NC State, as we could predict, just didn't have the offensive firepower to keep up. So that's fine. And then my other one was Oregon -15.5 versus Stanford. That was a winner. So yeah, felt pretty good overall. Just on the wrong side of it, 1-2 there. But yep.
Yeah, Oregon, you had 15.5 and then won by 18, but that game did not. If you asked me to score that game without showing me, I would have said it was like 35.
Yeah, I was actually going back and checking. I was like, oh wow, that ended up quite close because I remember in the middle of the game it was like not even contest.
Yeah, looked a lot worse than the score actually indicated. I think the score was pretty favorable towards Stanford. So heading into week 6, like Alex said, we're getting close to the midway point, which is definitely a weird feeling, but it's definitely getting there. So we'll be back with you guys every week the rest of the season, but here we go for week 6. First game we're going to kick off with on Friday night is Houston against Memphis. As you see here, Memphis comes in as a 3-point favorite. It's a 58 team total. So what's your thoughts here on the first game of the slate, Alex?
Yeah, I mean, Houston's just kind of a mess this year. Their coach is going absolutely insane. This matchup, we have 2 above average offenses versus 2 below average defenses. Memphis has been a bit better against the run, funneling a lot of production to the pass. But I don't know. 2 decent quarterbacks that you always want to be better than they actually are on the field. Memphis is allowing a lot of big, explosive plays in the passing game. So I wonder if we see like a Tank Dell breakout spot here. Memphis just isn't like preventing other teams from sustaining drives. I think 38% defensive success rate on passing downs. That's really bad. They're just letting teams move the ball. I don't really have a strong take on this game. It's a pass for me, but I'm interested in watching it. And obviously it's pretty DFS relevant. It'll be on Friday's slate.
Yeah, I think you sort of nailed the head here. I think it could be a Tank Dell breakout game. I'm probably going to stay away from it. I'm not going to touch it because we haven't seen enough of Memphis really know what they're going to be. And like you said, Houston's kind of in shambles. Tejon Henry is out. Looks like he might be out the rest of the season. He's having surgery this week. So we should see a lot of Campbell in the backfield for Houston. It's a situation where I like Houston a bit, but I just don't really want to touch it. I think either side could put up a lot of points here and blow the other team out. Like I think this could end up being a 2 or 3 touchdown game either way. Realistically, just what offense comes out and performs between the two teams, because I definitely think both offenses are capable of abusing these defenses. It's just a matter of which one can sort of come through. All right, next game, another game that I'm sort of looking to see here. We have Tennessee against LSU. We see the spreads around 2.5. As you see, you can find 2.5 at FanDuel. So make sure you guys are using Scores and Odds to check the lines. I like Tennessee. I think LSU looks shambles to me thus far this year. Tennessee looks like a much better team to me. So the fact that this game is only around 3.5, and the fact that I can get this at 2.5 on FanDuel really, really feels good to me. I just think Tennessee is a much better team. I think Tennessee is far better in every aspect. Yes, they're going to be without Tillman. That does hurt, but LSU just looks awful offensively. Daniels cannot get the ball to his receivers. Keyshawn Boutte, if you guys didn't watch, there's a video of him last week getting talked to from Daniels on the sideline. He's just sitting there like, yep, this sucks. I can't get anything going. So what's your thoughts here in this game?
I mean, the game is like squarely on the I guess the arm and the legs of Jaden Daniels, which is a scary proposition if you want to back LSU. Um, guess how many interceptions Daniels has this season?
Probably like one. He just runs.
He has 0, which
he just
to
runs.
me is a bit surprising. Like he either misses a guy by 10 yards, so like nobody can catch it, or he pulls it and runs it. But at least he's not like forcing it into in terms of producing turnovers. But I don't know. The line is kind of fishy to me. Tennessee's offensive metrics are insanely good, both on the ground and through the air, but defensively they are not great. They allow a boatload of production through the air. It's just a matter of like, can Jane Daniels have a good game? I don't even know if that's possible, but it's an avoid for me. And actually, I think this is like kind of a sneaky, weird spot to actually like take LSU in the points, and like I expect this game to actually be close.
Yeah, so like the thing is for me is like last week they beat Auburn, and the issue is for me is Auburn's way worse than Tennessee, and Auburn should have won that game. Like Auburn definitely should have won that game. So that game was a struggle in general for me. All right, next game we go to TCU versus Kansas. We see Kansas is still 5-0. We see a pick from none other than you liking the over. I also like the over here. I think the over is a really strong bet. Both of these teams and both of these offenses have the ability to put up major points. I think what we saw last week was a bit of a blip for Kansas offense. I don't think they're as good as what we talked about before. I think they're a good offense and they can be explosive, but they're not. They're going to have bad games. Like they're going to be a high variance offense that can struggle. TCU defense, I don't think is the defense that can shut that down. The only hesitation I have here is that both teams might play a little bit slow to hit 67.5 points. But what's your thoughts on this? Because you do like the over here.
Yeah, I'm giving Kansas offense a pass last week just because Iowa State's a good defense, and Iowa State did what Iowa State does. They just make games ugly. And it was weird. Like Kansas was never in a position where they really needed to push, just because like every time they got in the red zone, like Iowa State offense just stalled out and their kicker was terrible and couldn't put up anything. So I think this will be a totally different game in the sense that TCU's offenses look really good. The Sonny Dykes offense is definitely proving to be an upgrade. They're 10th right now offensively in SP plus offense, and Kansas defense is actually pretty weak. They're 80th in SP plus defense. So, I mean, it's a game where I think TCU is going to go up and down the field. And to me, it's just whether Kansas offense can keep up whatsoever. And I think they can. I think they're creative enough to move the ball. And it's not like TCU's defense is actually good like they have been in the past. They're more of an offensive focused team at this point. So I think it's a game where definitely it can go back and forth. I don't love betting these like high total games. It's just from what I've seen this year, both of these teams are capable of huge plays, which can really speed up the game and help move towards that over. And I think it's gone up a little bit since I put in that pick yesterday too, right? So.
Yeah, it's gone up to, well, it's right around there. It's been right around there pretty much the whole
68.5.
Yeah. So, all right, moving on to the next game. We have Mississippi State against Arkansas. The biggest question with this game is, will KJ Jefferson play? As of recording this, he has not practiced. Based on the line movement, I think that Vegas is indicating he is not expected to play. We've seen this open at 3.5. It's moved to around 9.5, 10. But as you see, there's a big differential right now between FanDuel and between DraftKings and other areas. So if you want certain sides of this, make sure you're pricing these out because there's a big difference between 2 points here between these sides. So for me, I think that I will stay away from this game. I think where it currently is, I don't trust the fact that Jefferson's going to be out, but it definitely is leaning that way. And if Jefferson is out, I definitely would probably lean the Mississippi State side. The issue is we've seen the Mississippi State side sometimes struggles to sort of put teams away and really get explosive plays. One of the biggest issues for me with Mississippi State offense is they lack the explosive plays, like the downfield threat to just sort of take top off of defense. And Arkansas is definitely getting beat through the air this year. So what's your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I feel like you kind of missed the boat to get on the Mississippi State side. So for me, it's just kind of an ignore. I can't see Jefferson playing with this line movement. Somebody has information that he's not playing. I know he hasn't practiced yet this week, so that's a pretty good indicator.
Well, you don't
and
see the line move 7 points.
No. And for me, it's tough to handicap how much Jefferson is worth because you never really go above like 6 or 7 points for a quarterback, but college is a bit different in the sense where he might be worth like 10 plus points to this team. It's just really tough to quantify. And for that reason, I am out.
Well, you saw who replaced him last week, right?
Was it Cade Fortin from UNC?
Who was terrible at USF. He was like awful.
He started at UNC.
I think it was USF. It could have been one of
I think he went to UNC, then USF, then so he's just making his rounds.
Yeah, and I mean, he was not a good offense at a lower level school, and their offense was terrible. So I definitely have my reservations if it ends up being him under center, which it definitely is looking that way. All right, next we go to Oklahoma and Texas. This game for me is going to be a stay away. I'm not in love with what I've seen from either teams recently. So with that sort of in mind, I can't really touch either side. We've seen the line move quite a bit. It's moved very heavily towards Texas. I think there's a pretty good chance Oklahoma's completely quit on the year. Like this was a team that was expecting to be competing for a national title or at least be in the ballpark of that. And they have new coaching staff. A lot of players stayed because of what was coming in. And I just could see a massive sort of letdown for Oklahoma where they just get smashed the rest of the year, end of the year like 7-5 and just aren't very good. But Texas has not looked good either. Texas has looked very shaky to me. So what's your thoughts here in this one?
This will be interesting to see how Oklahoma comes out. Like, will Brent Venables like turn them around, have a good week of practice, and then like kind of put them in a bounce back spot from last week's beatdown from TCU? I don't know. For me, it's also a game I'm not interested in betting. Texas's offense has actually been pretty good in terms of like advanced numbers and such. So it makes me wonder how good they could have been if viewers didn't get hurt the first game and like Isaiah Nair was on this team as well. But they're still pretty good offense. But on the road, rivalry game, Oklahoma coming off of a big loss, like it should be interesting. Like theoretically, like this is a game where they just give the ball to Bijan 25 times and he eats because Oklahoma's been awful against the run. They're allowing almost 200 yards per game, almost 4.6 yards per carry. That includes games against UTEP and Kent State and Nebraska. So it's not like Oklahoma's playing all top 10 schools. So TCU gashed them for over 350 last week. KSU 275 the week prior. I think Bijan should eat here, but it's not a game I'm super interested in betting. But if I had to, I would lean Texas.
Yeah, the real concern for me, I guess it's not really a concern, but Oklahoma's been getting killed by the mobile quarterbacks and by the running quarterbacks, and Texas just isn't going to do that. But like Amart just went nuts on them. They've been just giving up boatloads of yards to rushing quarterbacks. So
maybe they'll put Roshan in the Wildcat.
Just run Roshan Wildcat and see where it takes you. But yeah, I'm going to stay away from this game. We'll probably watch this game. I think some points could be scored. I do think the key is, like you said, is Oklahoma going to actually come out and play? Or is Oklahoma just going to completely mail in the season, which I think is definitely a possibility here. All right, next game, we got Purdue going up against your Maryland Terrapins. I will let you go first on this one. How about you talk to me about Maryland, and do you think they're going to win this game?
I really can't be rational here, I guess, because every game that Maryland plays from now on, I think it's the game where they just lay an egg and get slaughtered. So for that reason, I pretty much self-exclude myself from Maryland games. But I don't know. This game could actually be a bit more of a slog than the total suggests, maybe. And I guess the total has come down a few points since it opened. I mean, Purdue's a pretty solid defense. I don't know. What do you think here?
For me, it's a pass. The reason why it's a pass is a bit different than what you're talking about. Literally, everyone's banged up on these teams. Talia's banged up for Maryland. O'Connell's banged up for Purdue. Charlie Jones left the game like injured 3 times last week for Purdue. So like you have probably the 3 most important pieces of this game are banged up. So for me, like that's a scary sort of proposition to go into because if Talia sits, I would definitely like Purdue. If Aiden O'Connell sits, I definitely like Maryland. If Charlie Jones sits, it would lean me towards Maryland as well. So for me right now, this is just a sort of pass because everyone's just so banged up on both sides that it worries me that I don't really know what to expect out of anyone because of how many injuries are going on in this game.
Yeah, how about Talia had a knee brace on last week, and he got up gingerly one time, like walked slowly to the sideline. Then like the 2 plays later, they ran a read option with him where he kept the ball. I'm like, what are you all doing? Like,
yeah, it's like Charlie Jones literally left that game like 4 times last week. He literally went to the locker room, I think, at one point, and then he got injured like 4 times in different ways in that game. And I was just like, and O'Connell didn't play the week before and then played last week, although he looked okay. But yeah, you're just watching it. You're like, all right, Talia's got a massive knee brace on, has banged up ribs. O'Connell's banged up. Jones literally was off the field every other play last week. And I'm just like, I'm going to pass on that.
Yeah,
all right, next game.
Could be a Jones smash spot if he's healthy, but yeah.
That's my thought process, is that if he's healthy, it's a smash spot. So, all right, next game we get Auburn versus Georgia. I will say Georgia looks very underwhelming lately. They got some very favorable calls last week. Did you see the calls they got in their favor last week?
Yeah. I have a different point to start with, but you go ahead.
Yeah, there were some very favorable calls last week, but Auburn is not very good. I think they're going to get smashed in this game. So you actually like Auburn getting the points. So why don't you talk about that?
Yeah, I think this is an absolutely terrible line. It's the dumbest line I've seen all season. Like, why are you giving a top 20 defense 30 points? Like, I think the line is way off. I mean, might be a hot take, and obviously Georgia's good and Auburn's not great, but this line should be like 21 or 22. Like, this is a stupid line. I'm taking Auburn.
So I'm going to go the opposite way. I'm not going to take Georgia because I can't stand Georgia, especially their offense. I don't want to have to sit there and rely on Georgia's offense to be productive. But Auburn could give up like 3 defensive touchdowns. I think Ashford's going to play. If Ashford didn't play, everyone else is worse than Ashford anyways. And Ashford is going to turn the ball over in this game. Like, it's just going to happen. Like, the Georgia defense will probably put up 3 touchdowns in this game or something absurd like that. But the thing is like, you are not wrong. Georgia has looked mediocre, would be putting it kindly, over the last couple game weeks. Struggling against Kent State, who is not good.
Yeah, I mean, we all think Auburn is like a terrible football team to back, and like, we can just sit here and laugh at them. But like, when is the last time they've lost the game by 30 points? I actually don't know. But
I know Penn State was probably pretty close.
Was it?
I mean, Penn State destroyed them. Penn State was way better than Auburn. Penn State beat them by 29, Alex.
Okay, well, not 29.5 though.
Nope, not 29.5.
They haven't lost by 30. This is still a stupid line.
I mean, I'm not arguing. I can't argue that. This is a no-touch game.
I'll send you lots of math to back this up. I know you're not interested in that. But...
No, I mean, I get it. I'm not arguing. I just I don't want to rely on I don't want to rely on either team's offense putting up points in this game, which I think you're going to need to rely on to get to these point totals. And I'm just going to pass on that because, yikes, that just is not a pretty situation for me on either side. All right, moving out west, we're going to go to Utah against UCLA here. As you see, the line is Utah minus about 4. It opened around -3. Total's around 65. This is a total pass for me. I think this line's a really fair line. I think that Utah's probably a slightly better team here, but UCLA is undefeated. They've looked pretty decent, pulling out some wins. I think that Charbonnet's over his injury concerns that he had. Utah's done some weird stuff. Brant Keithy, or Brant Quaith, as you and I refer to him as because it's a much cooler name, is out for the year. Massive hit for their offense. They did go back to Tavion Thomas a bit last week, but he didn't play tons because of the blowout. So what's your thoughts here in this UCLA-Utah game?
So, Utah was one of my favorite teams coming into the season. And I really wish they didn't lose that game to Florida because they'd be sitting in a really good spot. But I am surprised that the line that they're favored. I thought this would be pretty much a pick 'em. And UCLA has been better than I thought. Jake Bobo has been better than I thought. Charbonnet looks good. DTR looks more focused than he's ever been. I actually think this is a pretty good spot for UCLA to come out with a big win. So I kind of lean the underdog here in the points, even though I am a Utah fan overall.
Yeah, it's really tight for me. I think both teams are solid. I could see either team winning this game. I could see it being I could actually see I think if there's one thing I like in this game, it's probably the under. I could see it being a bit more of a slog than what it's projected to be. 65 is a lot of points for these two teams to put up. And if you get bad DTR, UCLA is going to struggle to move the ball in this game. So, if I like anything in this game, it's probably the under. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is a good Charbonnet game because Utah's been really stellar against the pass. I don't think they're going to be able to get much going through the passing game, but Utah's not been great against the run, which is kind of concerning. And I think this is just a game they can feed Charbonnet. And I'm interested to see if Jake Bobo can back up his performance from last week where he looked like a first-round pick. Legitimately looked very good.
Such a Jake Bobo hater. I have to defend Jake Bobo all day to you, and it's just...
Well, I think every guy that looks like that at UCLA is going to be Chase Cota and just run wind sprints, but I guess I'm proven wrong.
Facts. Another guy that looked good last week, Chase Cota. But moving on to the next game, we'll get to Chase Cota a little bit later. We get USC minus around 13 against Washington State. Look, I'm still a USC believer in the fact that I think they will beat Pac-12 teams. I think they will cover games against most Pac-12 teams. We see the lines moved here. It's moved from around 10.5 that it opened to about 13-ish. I still like USC. I'd probably take USC. I think they win by more than 2 touchdowns. I also like the over. I think that both teams are good enough offensively to make the over happen. So what is your thoughts here in this game?
I'm going to kind of calm down on my USC hate for 1 week. So I'll take a 1 week break from just slamming them and telling them how overrated they are and how good they're running. But because I think they're going to have a kind of a field day here against Washington State, especially through the air. I still know how good Washington State can run the ball. And I think the dogs that I want to take versus USC, I want them to be able to run the ball.
Like Rice, right?
I mean, look at
yeah, it's I agree.
Speaking of like offense allowing 3 touchdowns, that was the Rice special because they threw like 3 pick six. Anywho,
that they did.
Yeah, I'm passing on this game.
All right, next game we have BYU Notre Dame. BYU is a slight underdog here. They are about a +4. It's moved to +4. It was like +2 to open. Totals around 52. I prefer BYU here. The issue for me is BYU has so many banged up pieces. Puka Nacua is banged up. Romney returned last week, looked decent. I just don't like what they do with their offense. They rotate so many guys. Miles Davis is out, most likely, and he looked like their best running back over the last couple weeks. So we're back to the Christopher Brooks, Lopini Katoa slog fest that they have out of the backfield. So I would probably stay away from this game. If I lean anywhere, it would probably be BYU. I think they're the better team. I think they have the better quarterback in the game, which is really the difference maker for me. But what's your thoughts here?
Do you know what game this is? This is the overrated bowl. Both teams are way overrated.
Well, Notre Dame's not overrated anymore. They've got knocked down.
Okay, but people still think they're good. Ask a Notre Dame fan.
Well,
but I guess my point is more on the BYU side. There is no way they're a top 20 team in the country. So I actually kind of think Notre Dame might lay it to them here a little bit, but I'm not interested in this game. I don't want to watch it. Don't want to place my hard-earned American dollars on this game. So
yeah, this is a game. So as you know, like I watch a lot of games on weekend. Like I'll have 4 games on per time slot on my monitors watching different stuff, and I'll switch between some things. There is a good chance if you ask me the score of this game on Sunday, I don't know the score of it because I didn't look at it one time. Don't care about it from a DFS perspective. Don't care about it from a betting perspective. It's just not an appealing game to me whatsoever. So, all right, next game, we're going to move to Florida State, NC State. We talked about last week that we thought Wake was going to beat Florida State. I think NC State's going to beat Florida State very handedly here. I just don't think Florida State's that good. I think NC State is a far, far better team than that of Florida State. I think NC State, I would like them up to like 10 points here pretty easily. I'm going to talk about what I talked about last week with Wake. Like I thought Wake was a better team. I thought they were going to win the game outright. They were a 7-point dog. I think NC State's far better team here. I think they win this by 2 touchdowns plus. Travis just doesn't have the mobility right now due to his injuries that he's sustained over the year. And I just think NC State's going to just handle them pretty easily in this game. Do you see it any differently?
No, I don't. And even beyond the injury, I think it was Florida State's plan this year to do this thing where they try to turn Jordan Travis, a dynamic athlete, into a pocket quarterback, a pocket passer. Like even before the injury, I think they were that was the plan for this season. He is not that. If you want Jordan Travis to be successful at college football, you have to let him run and design run. But This is a great bounce back spot for NC State after that road loss at Clemson. I am in agreement with you. I like them to come out here and take care of business. Like Florida has a really good success rate on offense and standard downs, but when it turns into passing downs, that success rate plummets. And that's just showing you what we're talking about with Jordan Travis not being an efficient passer.
I will give Travis credit. He is a much improved passer from what he used to be.
Well, it helps when you have like a 6'8" receiver that has like a 12-foot wingspan and can catch anything. Shout out.
Well, it probably also helps that like the receivers play more than like one snap at a time before they rotate 15 guys through. But I think Travis is a decent option if you let him run. But I don't know if they're necessarily turning him into a pocket passer. The early season games, they didn't need to let him run. The first game they needed to let him run, he got hurt. And since then, like the injury has slowed him down to where he can't run anymore. So I don't know if it's as much of they are turning him into a pocket passer instead of he just cannot run because of the injuries that he's currently going through. All right. Last game of the night, we go to one of our favorites, the Oregon Ducks, against one of your favorites, Jacob Cowing and the Arizona Wildcats. So you are already posted here with a bet. So why don't you start with this one off first?
Yeah, this is the second stupidest line of the week. Like, why was it 12.5 ever?
I don't have a great opinion for you. It opened at 10.5.
I don't see a situation where like Arizona can slow down Oregon's rushing game whatsoever. So Oregon is 9th in offensive SP plus right now. Arizona's defense checks in 103rd defensive SP plus. Arizona's giving up the 125th most yards on the game on the ground, 5.9 yards per carry. Oregon's offense is 10th in rushing in terms of yards per game, nearly 6 yards per carry. Like this mismatch between the Oregon like rush attack and the Arizona defensive line is insane. And don't fool yourself in thinking that Arizona is a good offense because they scored 43 points last week in like the funeral of Carl Dorrell before he got fired. So like. And then, like, you get to the flip side when Arizona has the ball. When you pressure Jaden DeLora, like, what does he do? He makes stupid decisions. Like, he doesn't run the ball. He throws the ball up. So I just think this is a game that's going to snowball, and Oregon's just going to totally wreck them.
Yeah, so I want to start off by giving Arizona a little bit of credit because last year they would not have beat Colorado they would not have scored 40 points against Colorado.
That's true.
Like, they are better, and I'm actually – I watch the games and I like enjoy their offense a bit. I think their offense is a much better version of like what it has been. It looks pretty decent. They have some decent options too with Cowing.
Yeah, they have the GOAT, Jacob Cowing.
Yeah, Cowing, McMillan looks good. Singer looks good. Like they look like they have some actual receiving options, and DeLore is a much better option than what they've had. However, I agree with you. I think there's a pretty high likelihood based on what you've said here that we are going to overlap on a game again this week, and we'll be on the same side, unlike 2 weeks ago where we were on different sides. I think that Oregon should be a like 3 or 4 touchdown favorite here. They should just smash Arizona. I don't see how Arizona can keep this game competitive. Like, yes, they maybe can put up some points here against Oregon. They maybe can score, but I just don't see how they keep Oregon out of the end zone. Like, I think Oregon's going to just score at will, and their defense is good enough to shut down Arizona to some extent. So I just don't see how this game stays within 2 touchdowns at all. But anyways, that's going to wrap it up for us on the games this week. So I will get us started for my 3 picks of the week. We didn't talk about it at the beginning of the slate anymore, but I am, I believe, 8-6-1 on the season. Alex is unfortunately 5-10. So we had to bring it up. I mean, we had to look back. So hopefully Alex can get going a little bit here, especially in the game that I believe we will be overlapping on. So my preferences this week: Tennessee -2.5 against LSU. Oregon -12.5 against Arizona, and NC State -3 against Florida State are my picks for the week. Alex, what do you got going for me?
I like all of those. I have TCU, Kansas over 67.5. I have Auburn plus 29.5. That half point will probably come in handy when they lose by 29. Then I have Oregon minus, I think it was 12.5, like you said.
I figured we were going to overlap that game. It made a bit too much sense not to, based on how much you liked it and I liked it. I was going to also use the TCU Kansas over, but I felt you were going that way as well, so I changed up what I was going with. But yeah, I will say I like my 3 bets this week more than I've liked any of my 3 bets over the season so far. Would you agree with your stance on yours?
I mean, we're actually getting to the point where we feel comfortable with like making decisions and having some conviction. Like the first few weeks, like you're just kind of, it's a lot of guesswork, and sometimes that guesswork leads you to 5 and 10. But maybe we'll flip that and go 10 and 5 the next 5 weeks. So
sounds good. I mean, I'll try to go 15-0, but I mean, if Alex is just going to settle in at 10 and 5, we'll see.
Hey.
We'll let him drop a little 5 points to me there. But all right, everyone, that's going to wrap it up for us this week. Make sure you guys hit the like and subscribe button. We really appreciate it. We will see you guys back here next week. Good luck to everyone this week. Hope you guys get a lot of wins out there. We'll see you guys next week.
War Eagle.